The TEFL Commute, Season 8, Episode 2, Cheating, in which we discuss dishonest practice in academia. Right, off we go. Hey Lindsay, how you doing?
Fine, Sean. How are you?
I'm not too bad, except of course, as is the law of the podcast, as soon as we start recording, the next door neighbour starts drilling. So apologies if there is a little bit of sound interference on this one. I'm sure our producer will do his best, but it is quite a heavy drill going on outside at the moment.
Yes. And if there isn't drilling, you might get my hacking cough, which I'm trying to keep a handle on, but I've had a cold since coming back from Canada recently. So.
Yeah, is that because the Canadians are cold people, or is it
No, it's because there was too much air conditioning on the airplane.
Too much air conditioning. That's an interesting one.
Let's just introduce ourselves here. By the way, my name is Lindsay, and I'm one of the hosts.
Are you? Gosh, never realised.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Shaun. I'm the other host, apparently.
Yes, and this is the TEFL Commute. This is a podcast for language teachers. That's not about language teaching specifically, but the topic always comes up. In each episode, we take a theme and we explore it. The themes are either fully or tangentially. Like that word, tangentially?
Tangentially. You were reading on that plane then, weren't
you? Yes. related to teaching. And this one is tangentially, but maybe fully as well. Well, this episode is all about cheating. So one of the things we wanted to talk about this season was the idea of cheating and kind of explore different aspects of it. Maybe we should begin by defining our terms. Like what is cheating? Like defining the terms. Yeah.
Oh, is cheating where I get somebody else to sit in and do the podcast for me so I could pretend to be sure?
I think there's lots of ways of cheating. Of course, we were just laughing about this before when we were doing a Google searches for cheating or definitions of cheating or interesting facts about cheating for our podcast. Unfortunately, we did always come up first. Several pages of Google were all about cheating on one's spouse or significant other. This is not the kind of cheating we're talking about in this episode. We're talking about academic cheating or dishonesty. And I found a very handy list of at least 9 kinds of academic dishonesty. Okay? So what it will do, Shaun, is for our listeners, I'll go through them and you tell me what you think they mean, okay? Because you haven't seen this list.
No, okay.
It should be quite easy, okay? But these are all kinds of academic dishonesty or...
Can I Google, or is that cheating?
Well, we'll see what category of cheating that comes up with.
Okay.
All right, so the first category is plagiarism. So explain what you understand by plagiarism.
Plagiarism's the fun one because I teach university students and we have to actually do a lot about that with them. So that's obviously passing off somebody else's work as your own.
Yes, especially, and they add in their definition without due acknowledgement. So so passing.
Let me just take this a little bit further then, because it was something I came across last year. I teach digital literacy at the university here, and we have to do one of the lectures is on plagiarism, one of the input session on plagiarism.
Yeah.
And when I was initially doing the research on this, I came across what's called the plagiarism spectrum. I never realised it was like so. In fact, if you go to, I think it's now on the Turnitin website, there are they identify 10 different types of plagiarism.
Wow.
I guess that means it's more evident than it used to be, or more pervasive than it used to be.
Definitely think so.
You go from what they call clone, which is fairly obvious, I think, to the 404 error. You know the 404 error when you kind of you search something on the internet, it's not there. And the 404 error is where the plagiarism's hidden by making citations to non-existent work.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Oh, that's great.
Anyway, so number 1, plagiarism, all right? So I've got 8 more to go, yeah?
Plagiarism, right. Number 2, fabrication.
Well, that's presumably just making something up. That'll be my 404 error.
I think so, actually. Yes. So that's the falsification of data, information, or citations.
Oh, I see. So I just...
So fake citations, fake data, whatever. Yeah, so you make all of that
so
up.
The Leave campaign in the UK, that they were fabricated and stuff.
Boom. Yes. Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Okay.
The next one, deception.
Deception. Is that when you claim that you've done something or have something and you don't?
Yes, it's something
Or
like that. So this one they just define as like giving fake information to an instructor about an academic exercise. So for example, giving a fake excuse for missing a deadline, or saying you submitted the work on time when you clearly didn't. So
is that? I guess that's been academically dishonest.
like the modern equivalent of that is like, oh, we had a power outage and my internet went out for 2 hours and I missed the deadline because of that. Or I said, I don't understand, I left it on your desk, it was there. That kind of thing.
So what you're saying is it's my dog ate the homework.
Yes, that's an example of deception. Okay, let's keep going. They have one just called cheating.
Oh, cheating, I presume, is like a person would in a test or an examination, maybe having the answers somewhere or something.
Yeah, hiding answers. So getting assistance in an academic exercise is that's how they do cheating. Bribery.
I think I just tried that with James, didn't I? If I buy his book.
Yes.
He will, yeah. Okay.
Okay, he'll let you win the TEFL fight, for example.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Well, obviously I don't need that kind of help, but yeah, it's worth trying.
This one I didn't know about as an example of academic dishonesty. I hadn't seen this one. Sabotage.
What? Hang on. Is that basically screwing everyone else up?
Exactly. So they give examples of cutting pages out of library books, willfully disrupting experiments of others. So making sure that others don't get it done. I haven't seen that happen.
That's really interesting because, and I know we'll talk about this in more depth later in the podcast. Obviously, we both kind of looked up for the episode ways in which people cheat. Yeah. And I saw one and I didn't quite understand it, but that makes perfect sense. And it was a website where the teachers were putting in ways that the students had cheated. And one of them was talking about the fact that the marks were given on a curve, as in most exams. There's a curvature, so a certain percentage will get this mark and that mark. So this student had ensured that the rest of the students couldn't get into the exam room.
Well, exactly. That would be the thing. I think that would be an example of cheating as sabotage.
He got 100%. Brilliant. I know it all makes sense. Sometimes you just have to applaud people. I mean, cutting out books from library, cutting out pages of library books, I don't think, I would never condone.
That's kind of crappy, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, ensuring that the rest of your class can't find the exam, it's borderline genius.
I know, especially with the online stuff. Anyway, let's keep going. Professorial misconduct as an example of academic dishonesty. And I think you wanted to get to this one later on in the...
I think there's an interesting area because, I mean, I think as educationalists, when we look at, when you say cheating and academic dishonesty, I think the natural thing is to look at students, but actually teachers are not as clean as we might seem.
Exactly. So this is like acts by the teacher that are fraudulent, that equate to academic fraud or grade fraud. So artificially inflating grades, passing off someone else's work or just fake marking it, sort of just giving someone.
But I always wonder how much that is done inadvertently anyway. I'm not talking about professional misconduct, but a lot of exam marking is subjective.
Yes. That's true. Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the advantages of having an independent marker. But if you don't like a student, that might affect the way you mark their paper, especially in an end of year test, for example, rather than say a formalized exam.
Exactly. Well, let's finish off the other two. There are two that are left, right? So let's go through them. What we have so far: plagiarism, fabrication, deception, cheating, bribery, sabotage, professorial misconduct, impersonation. What do you think this is?
Hi, I'm Lindsay Clenfield, and I'm going to talk about...
Yes, exactly. Or, you sit the exam for me, the impersonation. And then the other one, contract cheating.
Contract cheating. It's not like a contract. It's like a hitman. You take out a hit. You take out a con.
Well, it's like, no, you hire a third party to complete work on your behalf.
Oh, okay.
You're going to be talking about that later as well.
The growth of essay milling, which we'll get about later on, that would fall into that category.
Exactly.
Okay, so which of those have you done then, Lindsay? Come on.
Oh, gosh. Lots of these don't seem to... I don't remember many of these existing. For example, the idea of impersonating, I never kind of had that possibility. Contract cheating didn't exist when I was back in high school or university. The internet wasn't developed enough.
Some facts up. Contract cheating. If you think of a stereotypical, I don't know, American high school movie film, isn't there always the geek and the sports jock and the geek?
Who writes the essay?
Wouldn't that fall under that? I'm not saying that you did it.
That's true. I didn't do it, but that would have existed. Cheating, yes, I probably did cheat on the occasional test. And that could have been, and I'll come back to this later on, but that could have been like the writing painstakingly small notes to myself somewhere,
cheat sheets.
Or on the hand. I think or a ruler. I may have done it.
Yeah, I don't think I could claim to be innocent in that. I mean, I don't. I would say when I was at school, which is the vagueness is caused by memory because that's a long time ago, then I probably cheated on spelling tests and stuff like that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
This phrase cheat, though, is just I find very interesting. I think we talked in the previous episode about family. And actually, cheating is something that my sisters, who are the state school teachers, and I have argued about a lot. When is cheating not necessarily a test, but when is cheating not collaboration? And how would you define cheating?
And I think as language teachers, there is a fine line on that, because lots of the things that we would recommend we do in a language classroom, in other classrooms, would be considered cheating. For example, check your answers with a partner before you tell the teacher.
True. Yeah.
Brainstorm these things first. Look it up in a dictionary to check the meaning. All of these things that we recommend as good practice for learner autonomy or collaborative group work or pair work.
My sister a few years ago, she said, "Oh, I prepared this. It was before Christmas. She said, I prepared this test for my quiz for my students. It's Christmas quiz. But she said we gave them this fun Christmas quiz. And she said, you know what? They cheated. I said, what do you mean they cheated? She said they got their phones out and they were looking it up on the internet. And I thought, well, surely that's a good thing for them to do. And we got into this argument because what would be the difference then from me, say, going to, in my day, an encyclopedia and looking up the information, or somebody Googling it? And it was really interesting that she perceived that as cheating in the classroom, whereas I thought it was good classroom practice, good student practice to look up something that they don't know.
Yeah.
So I think this concept of cheating, as you say, in our strand of the profession, might be slightly different to others. But
that sounds like we're beginning to edge towards a fight.
Yeah, well, we tend to. Yeah, no, it's on my mind because hence the fact I keep saying test, I think. So
I think you're spoiling for one. I think you're spoiling for a TEFL fight. We haven't had one yet this season.
Well, yeah, because I think the idea of cheating is something that we should fight about, really, because obviously we do have differing opinions on this, I think. Do we have a ringmaster, or are we just getting on with this?
Let's bring in the ringmaster.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to another round of TEFL Fights, in which our two competitors duke it out to decide who's right and who's wrong. So, what are the Queensberry rules? Well, each fighter will have 1 minute to argue their case and do some serious damage to their competitor. In round 2, they'll have the chance to follow up and land a knockout blow, persuading the judge, that's me, that they've managed to win. So in this episode, the guys have been talking about cheating. So in this bout, our brave pugilists will be sparring over this topic. Students should be allowed to cheat on tests. Going first and arguing for the topic, it's Shaun. Seconds out, let's go.
Standardised testing, end-of-year tests, and even the how much can you regurgitate exams are not a clear indicator of someone's ability. They're outdated and also outmoded for life in this current epoch. In a test, why shouldn't, for example, people be able to look up words? What difference does it make? Modern life uses spell checks, so why do we deprive people of this skill in our time of need? In everyday life, if we don't know something, we search for it online. So again, why not use this skill in a test? If testing is supposed to be a way of proving you're ready for life, who would you employ? Someone that can list all the kings and queens in British history, or someone who is an efficient online researcher? Cheating and the fact that both students and teachers feel the need to cheat highlights the inherent flaw in education systems. Students cheat to help succeed, teachers cheat to help succeed, and people even cheat the educational system to get into schools and universities they want. The whole system is flawed. Education systems are run as a political bargaining chip. The system of testing is often imposed by people who know nothing about education, placing teachers and students under enormous stress. Cheating undermines this system, so I say cheat away and long live the revolution.
Okay, thank you, Shaun. Lindsay, it's your turn. So, are you ready?
I think so, yes.
Okay, so seconds out, round 2. Over to you, Lindsay.
Okay, well, let's be clear about terms, all right? If we are going to talk about cheating, cheating is something that is not allowed according to the rules. So if we change the rules, then it's no longer cheating. That's the first thing. However, the cheating that I'm talking about are stuff that is against the rules and therefore should not be allowed. Okay? Cheating in a way is the same as lying and stealing. We don't think that it's right in real life. We don't think it, therefore it should not be right in exams either. Cheating also is unfair to yourself. You are basically telling yourself you don't believe in your own abilities when you cheat. Okay? So even if you get that good mark, you may be saying that you really didn't earn it to yourself. So in the end, cheating, if it's something that you're not supposed to do and you do, will make you feel bad about yourself. Okay. Also, cheating is unfair to others. If you allow cheating and some people cheat and the other people don't, then they are getting an unfair advantage over others. It should be a level playing field. That's the point of a test. Finally, cheating, again, if it's something that is not allowed, can kill trust. If you get caught cheating only one time, it ruins the trust. Even if you never cheat again, those who were administering the test or whatever would have a hard time trusting you. Now, what Shaun is suggesting is saying that cheating shouldn't exist. That's a different thing than having something and just allowing cheating to happen.
Okay, thank you. Right. So, as part of the fight, each of our boxers will get a chance to come back and respond. So Shaun's going to be first. Are you ready, Shaun, to come back?
Yeah, how long? I've got 30 seconds for this, haven't I? There's so much to unpick.
Seconds out, round 3.
Well, I think Lindsay's argument lacked a lot of, it was fairly incoherent, but let's pick up on a few things. Level playing field. Education isn't a level playing field, full stop. People, as I said in my opening minute, people twist the system and change the system to their own advantage all along. So if the field is unlevel to start with, then why not? We don't lie. Well, what about white lying? People do lie and do little deceptive things. I would see those as normal. So what's wrong with doing a little bit of cheating in that as well? Being unfair to yourself. Well, students under incredible amounts of pressures, to get into university, to get this and that. So a little bit of help here and there. It's not being unfair to yourself. It's giving yourself a little boost to get through a system which is inherently flawed and unfair to them.
Okay, thank you. Lindsay, are you ready to come back?
I think so. Yes, I am.
Okay, so round 4. Lindsay, take it away.
Okay, again, I think we're coming down to semantics. An open book test is not an example of cheating. It is an open book test where books are allowed to be consulted. What we're talking about is cheating is not codifying the cheating into the test. It's sort of just saying anything goes, or at least that's what I understand by the proposition. And I don't think that should be right, partly also because it causes stress. If you cheat or you're not really clear on it, you're afraid of getting caught. This goes up the more the actions are illegal or not allowed to be done. So I think cheating in that way, if it's just an anything goes thing, someone will find a better way to do it than you do. That's why some things are in the rules and some things are outside of the rules. Also, by doing this, you will feel better about yourself. It's about building grit, something else that's important in education. You'll feel better about yourself if you are able...
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Okay.
Self-esteem issues, Lindsay?
The fight is over. We have to wait for the judge. No more cheating. No more cheating.
Just asking.
Yes, that's it. Please respect the rules. If there's any time you should respect the rules, surely it's now. So we've heard some great arguments from both of our combatants.
Well, one of us gave a great argument.
And
sigh.
It's time now for me to make my final decision as to who has the eye of the tiger and who has been left spread-eagled on the canvas. Now, I want to remind you that my judging is based not on who do I think is right, but who do I think did the best job of arguing. And I think, considering the topic, I will give this bout to Lindsay.
Oh, yeah! Oh,
You genuinely thought his argument was better? Oh well, at least
Shaun, you're spread eagled on the map.
but I'm also £5 richer.
Oh, well, congratulations. I'll give you the little handshake. Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
All right. That was a TEFL fight, people. Thanks very much.
Right. Don't know if I want to continue.
We were talking before our fight about cheating. I'm sure both of us in our research came up with strange or inventive ways students have cheated. What ones would you like to share?
I did find some interesting ones. I'm going to go back to when I first started teaching, actually, as my starting point for this. So I was teaching in Athens, in Greece, in a private language school. Private language schools in Greece way back then were very small and whatever. And I was covered first teaching job. It's quite naive. You're doing the kind of progress test, that goes, after the end of a unit or something in a course book. And I was teaching these kids, and I was like, they're doing this test, and I was thinking, correction fluid.
Yeah.
I was thinking during this test, there's a lot of this correction fluid being passed around, and it took me weeks to realise that they'd got the answers written around the bottles of correction fluid. Oh my
gosh. That's great.
And then I realised that, just talking about it with fellow teachers, this was a very common way of cheating in Greece. And it was, so I had to applaud.
Well, a lot of these things are like writing things really small. So, I found examples of things being written on nails, written on rulers, written on the edge of the pencil, written on your wrist or written on your sleeve. Always like the cheat notes.
There was one, they're taking it a step further. It was tattooed.
Oh my gosh.
That's quite extreme.
That is quite extreme. But, there's something I noticed about this, and I did write an article about precisely what our fight was about once on cheating, on ways of incorporating cheating into your tests. Because one of the things I noticed is I used to make cheat sheets, really small ones. But what I found really frustrating as a cheater was that I inevitably memorized all that stuff, because the painstaking act of rewriting all of those things on a piece of paper meant that it was kind of in my mind. So in a way, cheat notes and cheat sheets are like good studying,
Absolutely. I've always, in the times when I've been taking exams, I've always rewritten things, not necessarily as a cheat sheet.
So what I had done with a group of students once, because I had had it done to me at university, we had one teacher who said, the next exam is not an open book, but an open page exam. You are allowed one page of A4 paper, both sides. Write as much as you want on that page, and you can bring that to the exam. And so it was amazing because, of course, everything I'd written on the page ended up being the best, most detailed study notes I'd ever made in my life.
Absolutely.
And then I didn't have to really refer to them because I'd memorized them from kind of writing it all down.
It's kind of what I alluded to in my argument in the fight, though, that I think, when I wasn't joking about tests being outmoded. It depends on the way you set the test. Obviously, language, this tends to be a test of the language itself. Yeah. Cheating, in this case, only works if the answer requires you to regurgitate information. Yeah. If you're having to, assimilate the information or comment on that information, that's a different kind of thing.
Yeah, so a spot test on irregular verbs, that wouldn't make so much sense to have people be able to write down, all the irregular verbs on a piece of paper and then just refer to that. But a test where they have to write like a letter or an email or a small essay or a series of like diagnostic questions about the different grammar, well, maybe there would be a case for having your own kind of cheat sheet that you could refer to.
A lot of English language tests and exam do this. The focus is more on the communicative aspect of it than necessarily the accuracy of it, in some senses. Yeah. So, knowing how to conjugate the verb in the past simple perhaps isn't as important as using it in the correct place,
Exactly.
Anyway, ways that people cheat. Some Chinese schools, they use jammers outside of the schools when exams are going on, so people can't use technology. Wow. Because things like using little, almost like spyware.
So jammers like jamming the internet signal?
Yeah, jamming signals, because people would have either broadcasting stuff in via phone or your mobile device. Or you see it in spy movies, a little in-ear insertion so that they could be talked to.
Yeah, I saw this several times on the internet. I never heard of this before. The headphones in the sleeves thing.
Aha, yeah, no, what you're talking about, yeah.
I had no idea what that is.
Maybe I was oblivious to it, but the idea of using a ballpoint pen as a communication device, so 2 clicks it's answer B, 1 click it's answer A, that kind of stuff.
See.
But perhaps my favourite one, I'll read it verbatim. My teacher in high school once told me he was taking a history final in senior year in college. They were allowed snacks because it was a long final. So he wrote the answers on Pringles with a food dye pen and then ate them after he'd finished the information.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Brilliant. Eating the evidence.
That's eating the evidence, yeah. One of the best ones that I saw was in the newspaper. It was talking about crazy exam cheating stories. One was from a medical school, a medical college. I don't know. This is according to one of the people writing in their medical college that they attended in India. Someone who isn't taking the exam waits at ground level, picks it up, and leaves. On the street just outside the college, a van with a public address system waits. The question paper is delivered to it, inside which all the crooks are seated with books, notes, guides, whatever it takes, who start dictating answers via broadcast. Everybody passes, which is just insane.
It is.
Anyway.
It's the lengths that people go to. And I quite like the idea of what you're saying, having this open cheat sheet.
Do you know what? I'll share another technique that I had that I allowed students to cheat. I did this with a group of 11-year-olds. This worked always really well. You know when you're working with students and you're invigilating an exam and one of them puts their hand up and they point to a question, they ask you something and you say, I could tell you, but that's giving you the answer, so I can't tell you, and then you're stuck in this like to and fro, and then you'd be like, okay, well, I can tell you this because it's not really giving the answer. So it's sort of, you're always, some people, you get the feeling they're kind of taking the piss. What I had was I gave each student, these 11-year-olds, I gave them each a little gold ticket.
All right.
And I said, this ticket is worth one answer out of whatever, the 20 or 30 or 50, because in the end of the day, we all know that one answer on a multiple choice of many, many answers doesn't really make a difference. I mean, it may in some cases, but most of the time it doesn't. Those who fail usually fail. Those who pass usually pass. So they were able to have that one answer that they could cash in from one answer, which I would point for them or tell them on the test. But the key was, if you didn't use it in the test, you could bank it and keep it to the next one. So the next one you get 2. And what became really interesting is that, first of all, it solved that problem of like, excuse me, teacher, what is this? And I'd say, I can't tell you so I'd say, I can tell you, but I need your ticket. And then they'd look at me and they'd be like, okay, forget it. I'll save it because I think I know and I'll take the risk and save it for something else that I need even more. And then you had some people who were just natural hoarders. And so they would be saying, I've got 5 tickets for the final exam. And they still wouldn't burn them all because they were just sort of collecting like treasures. So it was really interesting in that one.
That's a really nice technique. Would they be inclined to cheat?
Oh, I don't know.
But I'm wondering whether a technique like that would actually make people less inclined to cheat otherwise, because they're almost doing something for that extra point that they could get here and there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, one thing it did do is it would remove some of the stress you were talking about before. The major stress of exam. It's almost if you know that you have the same thing with the cheat sheet that you bring in. The reasons for cheat sheets is kind of to try to alleviate some of that stress through outside agency, either of your own that you did before or of the teacher or someone else to help you. So in a way, it's sort of like those things in game shows, call a friend, or, you get one answer, or the audience says, or things like that. So in a way, it's more as a tool to alleviate some of the stress of the exam situation. Now, would they cheat more or less? I'm not sure. I didn't notice a big difference. But then, I didn't do it hundreds of times. I did it only like 4 or 5 times.
I don't know. It's just interesting. You found something, is it from the University of Maryland?
Yeah. This was a fiendish way of doing extra points. And I think it was part of an experiment. This was, I found this as one of a controversial exam question. I'm really not sure how I feel about it or how it fits in with cheating, but let me just read it to you. So on the exam, there was a part at the end of the exam with a question that read, and I'm going to read it. Here you have the opportunity to earn some extra credit on your final paper grade. Select whether you want 2 points or 6 points added to your final paper grade. So then there's an option. You tick 2 points or 6 points. But there's a small catch. If more than 10% of the class selects 6 points, no one gets any points. Your responses will be anonymous to the rest of the class. Only I will see the responses. So it's sort of like you get a chance for extra points, but do you want to be greedy and get the 6 extra points, knowing that if it's like the tragedy of the commons or the prisoner's dilemma, knowing that if 10% of the class asks for those 6 extra points, you blow up the whole thing.
Wouldn't you choose 6 anyway? Because you're not losing points. Your score would still be the same without the choice, wouldn't it? You're asking for 2 or 6 points.
Yeah.
So logically, would you not? I'm just thinking I would choose 6 because I'm no worse off.
Oh, I see. So like if your baseline is 0, and so you might as well get 6 rather than just go for 2. But don't you want to do what's good for the whole group?
No. The tests aren't about group work, are they? That's the whole point.
Well, I guess the whole thing of this one was it does bring a group dynamic element into it. So we know where your loyalties stand. Now I don't feel so bad for being the reactionary in the fight.
Yeah, I'm still a bit sore about the fight, to be honest. Anyway, maybe we should take a break before we kick off again.
All right, let's hear what our producer James has to say.
Hello, this is producer James, just popping in to say hello. We're on season 8 of the TEFL Commute already. Can you believe it? A big thank you to everyone listening, especially those who've been there since the beginning. Okay, so I just wanted to say quickly, before we get back to the show, that there are numerous ways you can keep in touch with the TEFL Commute. The first and best way, of course, is if you're listening to this program on a podcast app, is to go to our page on that app and hit the subscribe button. If you do that, then you can guarantee that every fresh new episode of the show will just automatically download to your phone and you won't have to lift a finger. The second thing you can do is, of course, go to our website where you'll see all the show notes for each episode and all of our archive you can find there as well. The third thing you can do is go to our Facebook page. So just do a search for TEFL Commute. And there you'll see information about new episodes. And fourthly, you can go and follow us on Twitter as well, also at TEFL Commute for similar updates. So there's 4 things you can do to stay in touch with the podcast. Okay, subscribe, website, Facebook, and Twitter. Okay, I'll stop taking up your time. Welcome back to season 8, and let's go back to Shaun and Lindsay.
We're back, everyone.
When I was thinking about looking at cheating, there were a load of articles came out in the UK newspapers in the last 24 hours. I guess because universities have just gone back this kind of week. But this idea of this growing market of essay milling. I guess it's the modern version of the exam cheating we talk about, taking the paper to the van and letting people do the answer there. But people will write your essays for you because it's online.
Yeah, I came across several examples of those as well, like quite established businesses, it looks like as well. I mean,
yeah, they're really, like proper.
Like this isn't just some kind of Joe with like a high school level website. These look like really full on. We will do your essays for you, no problem.
I mean, I guess somebody writing your work for you, and according to some sources that I was reading, or some of the papers I was reading, people would pay £500 or for an essay, or £3,000 for a dissertation. So I guess it could be quite lucrative. But then what I started thinking about is actually isn't this just apart from obviously online facilitating this, we've had this. I don't know if we're still in, but we went through this period of celebrity culture, and every celebrity therefore bought out their autobiography, and their autobiographies were ghost written. They were written by somebody else.
Yeah.
So isn't this just another example of ghost writing? And therefore, is it not wrong? Is it cheating to have your autobiography written by someone else?
Well, I think so. Yeah, I guess so. I don't see it exactly the same thing because this writing the essays and everything feel different about that. But then again, I was never really that keen on the celebrity ghost written autobiography. Doesn't say on the. I think almost everybody assumes that that David Beckham did not write his autobiography, or they didn't write it alone.
No, he didn't. No.
Whereas with the essays thing, you kind of assume it should be your own work.
No, I'm not. I wasn't advocating. I wasn't making anything, but I was just interested. I found it interesting because obviously, when you work in going back to this idea of digital literacy and this idea of remix literacy, and this idea that that things can be remixed or done by other people in real life, but they all come back to where we started.
Yeah.
as plagiarism or whatever. And I could just wonder if it's, this is a societal example, and yet we get up in arms when somebody actually has the good business sense to start a business that will essay mill for you. But that's how I was looking at it, not trying to be supporting them with it.
I was going to talk about another growth area online that's all related to cheating. I mean, the whole the internet has given rise to new forms of cheating, but also new forms of countering cheating. I mean, one area that I learned about, and I think it was Philip Kerr, who has the blog on adaptive learning, that very popular blog there,
has appeared in this podcast, I think.
Indeed, he once mentioned something to me about the new rage of online proctoring, and though I had to go look that up, and that was really interesting. So, online proctoring, in case you're like me and we're like, what is that? Is like online invigilating of exams. So as more and more exams become computer-based exams or online exams that you can take at home, the increasing problem is how do you make sure that someone is not cheating, right? And what has developed are these companies. I'm looking at one right now called ProctorU or something like that, and there are several others who rent out services for online proctoring. This means that there are three kinds. The first kind is live online proctoring. So that means that you do your exam and you have to turn on your webcam, connect to this other person, this man or woman who is wherever, I don't know, in the Philippines or in India or something like that, and they sit and watch you do the exam the whole time. Audio has to be on, video has to be on, and screen share has to be on the whole time so they can see everything and are watching that you're not using anything else, that you're not. I love the idea that the screen share has to be on and the audio and the video so they can see all elements. And apparently these online proctors are moderating anywhere between 16 and 32 candidates at a time. And it could be from completely different exams.
So it's like your own personal CCTV.
Yeah. So you kind of imagine like it's completely Orwellian. You imagine this kind of proctor with like millions of TVs all around them. They're sort of like where the screen windows all around them and like student number 34, put down that phone, or...
It does raise a thing in my mind. I mean, so first of all, it is, I guess, it is the natural version of the invigilator, the online version.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
So when you think about it from that angle, perhaps it isn't so strange. But I do now wonder, what happens if you need a comfort break?
I guess, I don't know. Do you bring the computer with you? I'm not sure.
It's kind of,
that's weird, yeah.
But in the face-to-face environment, the invigilator would walk and stand outside the bathroom with you, I guess. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, here's the second kind was recorded. So in this one, there's nobody monitoring the feed, but you turn the whole thing on. Your feed, audio, video, screen share. It's all recorded and then sped up 20 times as fast where people and algorithms watch the whole thing. And so whatever, it's being observed by a person, right. But also the program is trained to okay, if he moves more than so-and-so inches away or does something weird or leans over, so now I imagine it kind of like those kind of things like in, those CIA movements. It's like, stop the film right there. Rewind back to 1 minute 32. You see that? Look, he's cheating, I'm
just thinking in this day and age, I can see the point of it from an exam point of view to come completely. I can understand why it exists. But actually handing over your control of your computer, your webcam to...
Oh, I know. That's the other thing is you kind of suspect, when does it end?
Yeah, exactly.
Why could they not just turn it on again? And the last one is even more scary in that respect, is like the advanced automated proctoring. So this one, there's no human. It's all directed by algorithms. The system monitors the feeds for any suspicious activity. So that includes the light in the room changing, suspicious objects, background voice activity, face recognition as well to do student authentication, which is kind of weird. But then you're kind of it feels like, we're approaching the self-driving car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Big Brother is certainly watching you.
Yes, indeed.
Obviously, I think if we revisited this podcast in a couple of years, you would find there's a whole new, even more tools for measuring it, because obviously the way the world, and certainly the way of exams, is kind of more and more pushing towards doing them online.
Yeah. Well, you could almost imagine then, if that case, you could almost imagine exams instead being in front of a computer where you can open other tabs, where you can do other things. Imagine the exam where they give you the virtual reality goggles.
Yeah.
Now you are like with sound and everything like that, and you're just you walk into the vault vault or whatever. And it's like, you cannot hear anything. You cannot see anything else. You're in an enormous vault or like a cathedral all by yourself, sitting at a lone table writing the exam. That would be fun.
Well, I know you're saying it partly, Jess, but there's certain truth in it. I mean, it's Cambridge themselves are looking at using VR as a way of getting people ready for exams. They're using VR simulation so students can get a feel for what an oral exam is like. So, it's not that far removed, perhaps, from it.
No. Can you imagine the stress that you add in depending on your VR simulation? Like, imagine you're going to do this exam in an airplane and the door, like your speaking exam, the doors are opening. Like, quick, tell me the difference between these two photos. Do it now. And the doors open. You're just pushed out.
Let's change tack or go back to the beginning. Naturally, the episode was going to be aimed, when we talk about cheating, we're coming as the students, yeah? And you did mention it in your nine things, the idea of professional misconduct in the academics. And it should be noted that teachers are as bad at cheating, perhaps, as students are.
Now, you mean teachers doing their own, teachers when they're students, or teachers like cheating for students?
Where I'm coming from is this idea of the standardized test and what we have in Britain of league tables and so on. The teachers are under enormous pressure for their students to do well. So there's been a massive growth. It's something like 4 times as many teachers cheated last year as this year in preparing and getting, and by cheating it means that manipulating their students' answers or making sure the students knew the answers for standardized tests. And if you go, we'll put some links in the website, obviously, but you see in the States, so many teachers have been fired because they've been found out to be fixing their results. As I say, in the UK, it's got up from something like 97 cases to nearly 400 cases of teachers being found out of fixing the results of tests. So, but
I can definitely see when so much is riding on it, not just for the student now, but for the school, the class, the teacher, the all of that stuff, money, funding, league tables. It makes sense, doesn't it?
It does.
It's a sad thing. Maybe we should wrap it up. Let's just see. Can we agree on something? Cheating, good or bad, or is that just too black and white?
I think it's too black and white.
Shades of grey.
I'm not going to rule it out.
Our final line: cheating is an area of many shades of grey.
Yay! There's a fence. Let's go sit on it.
Excellent. Thanks for listening, everybody. You can find us, of course, at TEFLCommute.com, also on our Facebook page, TEFL Commute. We're on Twitter and all the other social media places. And you get us wherever you get your podcasts. You can download it. Or if you prefer and don't want to wait to download a podcast, you can stream us on Spotify now. So find us in all the good places. Anything else we should add, Shaun?
No, you did a very good job of recapping. Well done.
All right, everyone. I didn't even cheat on that.
Did you know? Well, makes a change. Aha. Bye-bye, Lindsay. See you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
As your commute is coming to an end, here's an idea you can take into class. This is based on something Lindsay and Shaun were talking about in the episode. Tell your students that for the next test, they'll be allowed to make a crib note which they can bring with them into the exam. Tell them they're allowed one A4 size piece of paper on which they can write anything and as much as they like, on both sides. The only other rule is that anything on the crib note must be in their own handwriting, no photocopies. To make it more challenging for them, reduce the size of the paper, half an A4 sheet. Tell them what units are on the test and then let them cram as much of it on the paper as they can. They can make a draft of these crib notes in class together as an activity and do the final version at home. Then, let them bring the crib note to the next test. You've been listening to the TEFL Commute, an original podcast produced and presented by Lindsay Clanfield, Shaun Wilden and James Taylor. Don't miss out on any episodes by subscribing to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or on your podcast player of choice, and by visiting us at teflcommute.com.
Hello! Stand up, he's here, the ringmaster James. All right.